Hello everybody, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another banger here on the iTito channel. So what we're doing today is a brand new type of video I haven't done before. We are going to be telling a story. Nice little story time video. And the story we're talking about today is the time that I accidentally smoked shrooms at school. So without further ado, we're just going to jump right into the story. If you do enjoy, hit the like, subscribe, comment down below. Only takes a second, and it helps the channel tremendously. Let's jump right into the story. So, this took place my freshman year of high school. It was like the first couple months of it. I was new to high school, I just come out of middle school, and I really hated school. I wasn't too happy with the current state of life. And so, slowly over my time at high school, I started, hanging out with the bad kids down by the creek doing bad things. Natural part of high school for anyone like me. And, it progressed over point to, it started with, I just smoke occasionally. And then, I was smoking at lunch. And then I was smoking before lunch. And I was smoking after lunch. And I was just smoking and smoking all the time. And one day, it was a fateful day. I was just, hanging out, going about my normal school things as regular. And lunchtime comes around. Me and all my friends, we walk on down to the spot where we all hang out, do bad things, and is a spot where everybody from all 4 grades hangs out and does bad things. And so we're hanging out, and there's this kid, we'll call him Barry. Me and Barry were kind of close, but not really. Barry was in a couple grades ahead of me. Nice guy though. And he was standing in a circle with a bunch of people, probably 5 to 7 people, somewhere, we'll call it 6 people. So 7 people total, all standing in this little circle, and they were passing around a bowl. It was one of the coolest bowls I ever seen. I'd never seen a bubbler. First one I ever saw. It was cool and red, and it had all these little things on the side of it. Super cool. And I was so hype. I was like, oh, that's lit. Smells good. Little bowl. And so I went over and I'm like, yo, can I hit that? And they're all like, sure, dude. And so I grabbed the bowl and, I put the lighter to it and I'm inhaling it. And I look up and everybody standing around me is laughing. They're laughing, haha, making jokes. And I'm like, what's going on? Why are you laughing? They're like, dude, that's not weed, man. I'm like, what? What do you mean it's not weed? They're like, those are Russian smoking shrooms. Now, for the record, I've done a decent bit of research. I haven't gone too deep, but I've done probably 20, 30 minutes, and I cannot find anything about Russian smoking shrooms. Nothing. I cannot find of their existence. I cannot even find of any type of shroom that's smokable. Nothing like that. So maybe it was just salvia. I don't know. I've never done salvia, so I can't say for sure whether it was or it wasn't. But let me tell you, so I was already high. I smoked this thing and oh, those are smoking shrooms, dude. You're about to be super high. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go back to class, because at that point I still cared if my parents got mad that I skipped class. So I was like, oh, I need to go back to class, or else my parents are gonna be mad and ground me. But I'm about to be fucking tripping on this shit I just smoked. I'm freaking out. I was already high before. I'm freaking out. And finally, I'm just okay, whatever. I got to go back to class. So over the next 15 minutes or whatever, I start feeling weird. Super light, super wavy. My arms feel like noodles. Honestly, it's a pretty similar shroom feeling as to what I've had before. But it was way more intense. It's worth mentioning, this was the very first psychedelic experience I ever had. I had never taken any psychedelics or acid, shrooms, none of it. I hadn't tried any of it at this point. And so I'm walking back to class and I'm feeling real crazy. And as I get closer and closer to class, I just feel crazier and crazier. I just had it's this feeling I never felt before at the time. I was tripping is what it was. And so I get into class, and I'm sitting there in class, and class starts, and I remember it was the worst possible class activity for a day like this. What it was is, so we had to go through and fill out all the answers in this packet, which I had no clue what was going on. I could barely even read the words on the packet. And then halfway through class, once we were done with the packet, the teacher went up and down each row, and asked each of us to answer the next question in line. And this is not a good activity when I don't even know where I am. But I just remember I'm sitting there, and I fill out the packet, and I'm like confused and scared. I don't even know what's going on. And it's so quiet in the classroom, and all I can hear is the clock. The clock is so loud. I remember it so clearly. It was just this super loud ticking sound. Tick, tick, each second. And it just like reverberated around my head as the whole class was silent. And finally we finish up our packets, and it comes time to answer the question. So he starts all the way at the other end of the room as me. And so I had this intense anxiety building the whole time as he's going up and down the row, asking each person to answer a question. And if they get it wrong, then he has like a full-on discussion with them about it. And it's freaking me out. I'm freaking out. And I just remember everything got real scary. Like, everything started getting dark in the room. I don't know if anything changed actually. Maybe it was just like a cloud went over the sun, or maybe it was just all in my head. But like, even while there was other people talking, all I could hear is the clock. Tick, tick. I remember I'm staring up at my teacher. He was the meanest teacher I had. Such a dick. But he's also the teacher I learned the most from. So it's funny how that happens. But I'm staring at him, and he's just like morphing into like this like demon looking thing. His fingers are like super long and black, and they keep like growing and shrinking. He has like these claws. And the whiteboard behind him was like waving, and the clock was just ticking and ticking. And I'm sitting there, and my heart is pounding. I'm fucking pouring sweat. I'm so scared. And eventually he comes to me, and he's like, "Tito, what's the answer to number 4A or whatever? Whatever it was." And I look down, and I'm like, I say whatever answer I had. And I don't know if it was the way I was talking, what I said, something. I don't even know if I was on the right question. But the whole room just went silent, and everyone stared at me. And I was freaking out, man. I was like, what? Everyone's staring at me. The teacher's staring at me. And he's like, "Would you like to try again?" And I just went, "Nah." I went, "No, I'm good." And he goes, "Okay, then." And he moves on. And I was freaking out, man. And so that goes on. And then eventually class ends. And the teacher, he's like, "Oh, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm just a little tired today. I'm not feeling good. Didn't get to eat breakfast, even though I just came from lunch." But, I just make up any excuse possible. I'm pulling them out the pocket. I'm playing all the cards. And he's like, "Oh, okay, all right. Well, if you feel any worse, go to the nurse's office." So I'm like, "Oh, yep. And I remember I skipped the rest of my classes after that. I was like, fuck it. My parents can get mad. Whatever. I was like, it didn't end. Yeah, it was just going forever and ever, and I was so high. Eventually, around 2 p.m. or whatever, I finally started to come down. Finally. And I was just like freaking out, man. I went back to those kids, and I was like, "What the fuck was in that bowl?" And they're like, "We told you, man. It was Russian smoking shrooms. My friend from Russia, he sends them." And maybe they were just fucking with me. Maybe they really thought it was Russian smoking shrooms. Maybe it was Russian smoking shrooms, and there's just no information about them. I don't know. But let me tell you, it was very scary. It's very psychedelic. And that was my first actual psychedelic experience. Since then, I've had lots of far crazier experiences. But that was the only one at school, or when I had to be somewhere doing something important. I just remember that so vividly. I remember that feeling of just deep, overwhelming fear. Sitting in that seat, not to mention I had enough drugs in my bag to fucking get expelled. So that didn't help. But I was sitting there, I was just so nervous. And I can hear my heart pounding in my ears, and the clock. Sometimes in my dreams, I'll still get that. It'll be the clock. It's ticking and ticking. While the teacher at the front of the class just slowly morphs and shapes into this demon. And at the time it was really scary and overwhelming, and I hated it. But you know, looking back now, that was what, like 5 years ago or something. Looking back on it, is a good time. It was fun. It was a real good experience. It was. I'm surprised, given that experience I had. I'm surprised I was willing to try psychedelics again. Um, it was scary, straight terrifying, but it was unique. It was really fun. And then as soon as I came down after school, me and all my friends would go. I smoke more weed. Um, take the bus home. Parents are all mad that I come home high. That's most of my high school experience. But yeah, that was the story of the time I accidentally smoked smoking shrooms at school. If you are watching this video, if you happen to know what this could have been, if you've tried salvia, does it sound like salvia? Does salvia have that type of effect? Have you ever heard of Russian smoking shrooms? Was it just like K2? Was it like PCP? Was it? I don't know. I've never tried any of these drugs. So I have nothing to compare it to, but I remember that day very vividly. It was a very crazy day. But yeah, that's all for this story. I hope you enjoyed. I have a ton more stories if you like this type of content. I think I'm just gonna make them anyway. This is fun. I enjoy telling these stories. I'm sure there's some details I'm forgetting because it was a long time ago and my brain's pretty cooked, but that's about all I can remember. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, all that. Hope you enjoy this type of video. Let me know if there's any particular games you want to see as the gameplay or anything like that. Just did GTA here today because that's what I was playing. So yeah, thanks for watching. I love you guys. That's going to be all from me in this video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, y'all.